at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine.
Good afternoon, constellations of stars, especially to our senior high school learners who are with us in our FB Live.
Welcome to Astral Academy Cyber School. We are still live in the Pitayat Tanggub and Astral Academy FB page.
I am Ma'am Sherry May S. Epong from Tanggub City National High School.
And I am Ma'am Siti Badria Dato Dakula, also from Tanggub City National High School.
And we are your teacher facilitators today. May hapon, Ma'am Buds.
Assalamualaikum, Ma'am Sherry. Good afternoon. Today is April 5, 2022. We will be discussing two subjects this afternoon. The first subject is Discipline and Ideas in Applied Social Sciences. April 5, April 19.
Yes.
My God. Tungod nis akong pag-fasting, Ramadan manggod, so pasensya na.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Ma'am. No? So, that is our first subject. And the second subject is community engagement, solidarity, and citizenship.
Okay. So, for Discipline and Ideas in Applied Social Sciences, Week 2, second quarter learning competencies, illustrate the different process and methods involved in understanding communication, distinguish the appropriate communication media channel to use in different setting and situations.
Okay, yes, Ma'am. No, so for this afternoon, Ma'am, we will be talking about communication in different settings.
Yes.
No? So, with that, learners, stay tuned and prepare your self-learning materials because we are going to discuss now our first subject today after a short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School.
And
We are back still here at Astral
Academy Cyber School. Okay, Ma'am Sherry, to begin with our discussion for today, let us know first what is communication in the government.
Okay, yes, Ma'am. No? So, when we say communication in the government, no? So, this refers to, or when we say government, Ma'am, this refers to the institutions, no?
Yes.
The group of people, the processes, and the authority that runs our society according to a set of rules. Mao na ang government. So a country's constitution is defines the government functions, no? And then usually this include the promotion of the general welfare, establishing a just, fair, and peaceful society, now defending the nation, and of course ensuring democracy. So the whole range of tools of communication is used by our government, no? By the government to perform its communication function. So this includes tools appropriate for interpersonal, no, public and mass communication. Aside from that, ma'am, the government engages also in communication or communication professionals, no, such as writers, no, broadcasters, and communication agencies.
Okay, so that is for communication in the government.
Yes.
So let's proceed to the communication in the private sectors. In the private sectors, it refers to the businesses and industries. So it runs by individual and companies rather than by the government. So it is financed by the private individual, not by the government. So most of them aim to make profit from the services goods they offer. So some run for non-profit purposes. Schools are part of the economy's private sectors, and these are usually non-profit institutions. So among the essential needs of corporations and mobilizations, a company or corporation target audience may include internal publics such as owners of stakeholders, and employees and external public such as the customers, of course, the government, regulatory agencies, and communities. So we have here the business image among its business goals through the corporate communication strategies or the business firm. So builds a relationship with the stakeholders, employers, and customers, special publics such as environmental advocacy groups, and advertise products and services.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. No, so that is for communication in
The private sector.
So we also have communication in civil society. Okay? So global communication such as the MSF, no, kaning gitawag na tong Doctors Without Borders, Greenpeace Fund, no, Save the Children, Oxfam, Reporters Without Borders, and World Vision are referred to as civil society. Mo ni atong gitawag na civil society. So these are organizations that actually advocates na causes such as environmental organizations or kaning gitawag na itong mga NGOs into with environmental advocacies. A comprehensive definition of civil society is that adopted by the World Bank. So unsa maning civil society na according to the World Bank. So the wide array of non-governmental and non-for-profit organizations that have a presence, no, in public life. So expressing the interests and values of their members or others based on ethical, cultural, political, scientific, religious, or philanthropic considerations. So civil society or civil society organizations, therefore, refers to a wide array of organizations, labor unions, indigenous groups, charitable organizations, faith-based organizations, professional associations, and foundation in which napod ni sila kaugalingong proseso in communication.
Okay, so other communication settings is communities and schools. So of course, in communities, it made up of people in constant communications with each other. So through constant communication, communities are able to share and foster not only cultural identity, which includes a common language and common cultural traditions. So, but also vision of what is good for the community. To strengthen this identity, to attain the good communities for the following purposes: information, mobilization, persuasion, and socialization, as well as entertainment. Okay, so in school, of course, hindi lang man sa community ang communication, of course. Kung mayroon sa community, mayroon din tayo sa schools. So communities has the essential functions in schools of instructions and socialization. So additionally, communications in school setting take place to inform, persuade, and mobilize various stakeholders such as parents, faculty, and students. For these purposes, large schools such as universities usually have their own communications and informations unit which are responsible for preparing and carrying out communication strategies.
Okay, so aside from that, ma'am, no, naaputay ito na communication media channel. No? So, as we all know, of course, common kaya na itong term nga mass media. Okay? So, mass communication involves the transmission of message to large audiences using technology of communication. Of its key characteristics are a mass audience, no? So sa mass media or mass communication, na tayo mass audience. A communication process that flows one way. Since it is a large scale, no, in distribution and has an impersonal and anonymous relationship with the audience. And aside from that, another characteristic is that a communication process that is mediated by a mass medium or communication technology, example TV, no? And communication process that is organized by mass media institution. So that is for mass communication, mass media.
Okay, so we also have print media. So the newspaper, di ba? So as a mass media medium, the newspaper key features are regular or periodical appearance, use of print technology, news content, individual or group reading newspaper are clarified according to type of content, general news, political newspapers, business newspapers, and business newspapers, sports newspapers. So we also have circulation area, which is the national and local metropolitan newspapers. So another one is audience, which is the community newspapers, religious newspapers, and of course language. So in sa newspaper or sa media, hindi lang ang language dyan is it can be the national language, which is Tagalog or Filipino. It can be vernacular. Like for example, if here in Tangod City, of course, they will use the Bisaya. Bisaya, of course. Okay. And another one is periodicity, which is it can be daily or weekly ang use. Yes.
Okay, so we also have broadcast media, no? So naagnan diri ang radio and of course television, no? Ang TV and radio. So why is radio so dominant among the mass media? Ano man, no? So there are actually reasons for that. Since ang radyo, no, cost effective siya. No, the device needed to listen to radio and hardware and technology needed to produce and transmit radio programs are much cheaper than the other media. No, kay pwede man ta makapalit og device kanang radyo nga
Yes,
pwede na ta mapalit nga mas barato lang and then makadungog na tag unsay mga information.
Instead of TV, kay
Yes,
mahal-mahal.
sa radyo na lang. And then low demand on literacy skills.
Yes.
So person does not have to be literate to listen to the radio. No, apart from cost, this is the other main reason behind the popularity of radio in areas where there is low literacy among the people. And then, sa radyo mampod, naatag itawag na portability. Portable siya, no?
You can bring it.
Yeah, anywhere. No? The radio can be located and logged anywhere. People have it at their bedsides, on desks, in cars, and pwede pod na may mga mobile phones karon ma'am nga naay maka-access ng radio, no? And bisag asa so long as naay signal, no? And then accessibility to the visually challenged because it is sound medium, no? So maski katong mga kumbaga naay problema sa sa mata.
Mata.
Oh, nga dili man nila makita sa Hindi man sila makakita ng TV, pero makapaminaw sila gradyo, mag-visualize na lang dayon sila kung sa ilang na paminawan.
Okay.
No? So, a background medium. So, radio listening can be combined with other tasks. No? So, like driving, reading, and doing household chores. Well, nang laba ka, naminaw po ka gradyo. No?
Oh, another one is parang next to radio ni siya ang televisions, of course. Yung for those who can afford TV, why not? Yung naririnig mo, nakikita mo pa siya. Okay, so it comes from according to the UNESCO World Communication and Information Report, television program may be categorized into news analysis, documentaries, informal and formal educational programs, sports, music, and entertainment. That is why parang mas madali rin siya if kaya nilang bumili kasi they can also watch kanang mga comedy series, mga drama, and music, dance, marami mga reality television pwede nilang makita sa TV. So maraming nai-offer si TV compare kay radio. Okay.
So, film and recorded music also, no? Relatively little condition is given to film and recorded music as mass media, no? In spite of their importance. So, film is a true mass medium in the sense that it reaches a large part of the population, even in rural areas.
So, dahil parang ang atong technology medyo high-tech na. Sa una, radio, and then nag-TV na. So ngayon, naana ang SOCMED, which is social media. So, nandyan na sila lahat na, nandyan si TV, nandyan na si radio sa social media.
So long as na-internet.
Basta na lang ka-internet. Oo, yun lang. So, the new media covers a set of applied communication technologies that continues to serve. One definition describes them as interactive forms of communications format that available online. Apart from being internet-based, among the characteristics of the new media is interactivity. New media allow dialogue or interaction between the individual and the computer program. And ubiquity and delocatedness. So, new media is present wherever there is hardware and connectivity. So, aside from that, accessible, madali lang siya, accessible to individual users and senders to the receivers. New media allow user to create their own message and content as well as receive this the information.
So, aside from that, ma'am, no, another characteristic sa SOCMED, yes, is a medium of both mass and personal communication. Mo ni ang gitawag na tong new media. No? Hypertextuality. So, new media can connect one format of information with other formats and information sources through hyperlinks. No? So, multimodality. New media can contain various types of media formats on a single platform, such as when a website features video, nanay music, no, nanay pwede ka kuhaan natong mga information. So, mo na gitawag na tong multimodality.
So, naana sa new media.
Yes.
In social media, a subset of the media has dominated in the mass media landscape in recent years. These are the internet-based applications that build in the ideological and technological foundations of Web 2.0, and that allow the creation and exchange of user-generated content. So, these may be classified into six types. So, namely, social networking sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, marami pang iba, no? Another one is collaborative projects such as Wikipedia. So, nanitanan sa social media. So, content communities such as YouTube, of course. Virtual games, such as World of Warcraft, di ba? Familiar kaayo atong mga young generations Generation Z. Mao ba na sila? Yes, Generation Z. So, virtual social worlds such as Second Life or technologies such as blogs, email, instant messaging, music sharing, and crowdsourcing. sourcing. Yes.
Okay, so in its mao nagiingon ma'am no nga even kaning atong gibuhat karon is makita na sa social media. Natay YouTube channel ug naapod tay Astral Academy
FB
page no nga
Yes.
gi-live nato. So in its report, State of Social Media, the media research firm Nelson's provides data showing the power of social media over consumer behavior online and offline. So, internet users, no, the data shows spend more time in social media than any other site. That is why gigrab pud ni nga opportunity
Yes.
nato, no?
Na nato FB Live.
Yes, para pod dito nato
Ipaagi
no, ang ato ang gitawag nato nga lessons, no, nga gihatag
lectures
nato sa atong mga learners nga naa karon sa ilang tagsa-tagsa ka panimalay.
Yes.
Okay, so that is for DIAS, ma'am, no? Discipline and ideas in the applied social sciences. So learners, naatay activity, no? Sa inyong activity, observe report that Philippine politics, society, and culture have been increasingly influenced by social media. So, unsa may inyong buhaton learners, you write a position paper, no? Unsa may naa sa position paper, you explain and assess, no, the impact of social media to Filipinos. So, write your answer sa space nga naa karon sa inyo ang SLM.
Okay, so more discussions when we return. This is
Astral Academy Cyber School.
This is the way we speak. This is the way we read. This is the way we write. This is the English way. This is the way we speak. This is the way we read. This is the way we write. This is the English way. Come and learn to speak and write of the language of the world. Learn to understand the language of the world. This is the way we speak. This is the way we read. This is the way we write. This is the English way. This is the way we write. This is the English way.
And we are back, still here in Astral Academy Cyber School. We are still live in DepEd tayo Tanggub.
and Astral Academy FB page.
Okay, so again learners, now welcome to our second competency na in the second quarter sa atong subject, community engagement,
solidarity,
and citizenship, no? So, karon nga week, ma'am, natay duha no ka competencies, no? So, we have analyzed strategies of empowerment and advocacy of community action initiative, and explain the importance of commitment and action in participatory development for community well-being.
Okay, Ma'am Sherry. So, community actions is any activity that increases the understanding, engagement, and empowerment of communities in design and delivery of community service.
Exactly,
Yes.
Ma'am Bads, no? So, that is why it is important sa ato ang mga learners, Ma'am, no, nga they can analyze, no, the strategies of empowerment and advocacy of a community action initiative, and explain the importance of commitment and action in participatory development for community well-being. Kaya nga naman, it's about putting communities at the heart, no, of their local services, which involves helping the community to share knowledge, skills, and ideas. Muna importante ni nato nga competency para sa atong mga learners.
Okay, Ma'am She. So, let us start by defining empowerment. Okay? So, empowerment is the capacity of individuals to make choices that can produce the desired changes in their social, economic, and political lives. People must be empowered so that they will not be depending on others. For charity, empowerment, in varying degrees also involves the interplay between the agency and opportunities structures.
Yes, ma'am, no? So, furthermore, no, empowerment encompasses the having the ability to make one's own decisions, no? And then to control, to gain further control, to fight for one's rights, and of course, to say something and be listened to. Muna ang empowerment, ma'am. And
Yes.
being free, being independent, recognized, and accepted as equal citizens who can make a difference. So, that is empowerment. No?
Okay.
So, there are actually strategies, ma'am, of empowerment. So, unsa man nga mga strategies na atay gitawag na self-confidence. No? We have this positivity, meditation, and of course, the people around you, and priorities. Mo na mga strategies nato nga para mahimo tang empowered individual.
Empowered individual. Okay, so it is also good to know about the advocacy. So advocacy on the other hand involves fighting for the rights of others and having their concern addressed by targeting people in position of power. It is an act of supporting a cause. So helping the rights of fighting the rights of other people.
Yes.
Okay, so you cannot help them to fight if you are not empowered enough. diba?
Yes.
Yes.
So muna no, to understand further, ma'am, kanang gitawag na tong advocacy, naa din siya tulo ka types, no, of
Okay.
advocacy. Natay gitawag na systematic, individual, and self-advocacy. So, the first is systems advocacy. Unsa man yung systems advocacy? So, ang system advocacy focuses on efforts that shall change policies at the local, national, or even international level so that lasting changes will be brought to the lives of groups or individuals who share similar problems. Kay siyempre na ay problema nga nakita, and then naatay mga advocacy groups, no, nga
Yes. Nagtatanggol sa
yes,
ano,
or naa sila yung mga idea on how to change or
change.
uplift, no, or
Yes.
even change the policy in
Yes.
order for us to have a better community or better country.
Yes, so another one is individual advocacy. So individual advocacy, it focuses on efforts that will change the situation of an individual and protect his or her right. Okay, so that is individual advocacy, protecting the rights of others. Okay, so lastly, we have this self-advocacy. So focuses on the strengthening an individual's ability to communicate with other people and at the same time persuading and convincing the individual to address his or her own needs and rights. Okay.
Okay, so ma'am, kulang tao na to ang tulo ka type sa advocacy, ma'am, no? So what is common among these advocacies is their goal, no? Ilang
Yes.
goal of changing the status quo by targeting. Ang ilang gitarget ani ang atong mga decision makers, ang atong leaders, no?
Yes.
Our policy makers who can affect positive change, no? So advocacy work requires carefully detailed advocacy campaign which follows a cyclical procedure. So, unsa man ni nga procedure, gitawag na tong cyclical procedures nga gina follow sa gitawag na tong advocacy campaign, ma'am.
Okay, so identifying priority problem, of course, they need to gather information. So, developing an achievable aims in the objectives. They also need to identify the level of advocacy, identifying target people or groups, and developing advocacy message, and identifying allies, identifying available resources, creating an action plan, monitoring and evaluating advocacy work.
Yes.
Okay.
No? So, since natay procedure, no, makita
Yes.
nato ay na-identify nato ang problem, priority problem, say for example, about the problem sa environment. So,
Yes.
naka-create or mag-create dayon ng usa ka advocacy group sa gitawag natong strategy, ma'am, no?
Yes.
So, we have advocacy strategies. So, what are these strategies? First, natay raising public awareness, no? Let the people know kung unsay problema, and then unsay pwede nila mabuhat, no, to address the problem by using, of course, the media, no? And then we have the 8 questions that will guide for advocacy strategy. No, remember the relationship between the online or even offline activities, no? And then an advocacy group will consider also the impact of their program. Ensure your action step is front and center, and contact in the best way possible. Keep your friends close, no? Be crystal clear, and continuously grow your supporters list, no? So mo anay mga strategies para mas effective o mas produktibo ang mga advocacy programs.
Yes. So, however, Ma'am She, aside from human beings, of course, it is also possible to have an advocacy for other beings, such as plants and animals. Not only for human beings,
Yes.
of course. We must also consider the plants, animals, especially when their existence is endangered or threatened by human acts. So, that is the empowerment and advocacy. That is the one way of empowering people
Yes.
to let them know that those things like plants and animals need to be protected. Lalo na kung nasa panganib sila tungod sa mga yung ibang tao, they are not aware nga yung mga endangered na yung
makadaot na
sila
sa ato ang community, sa environment, no?
So kailangan silang tulungan para ma-educate sila. Yes.
So, sana sa mga strategy nato sa
advocacy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, let's proceed now to the participatory development, Ma'am Sherry.
Okay, so in the participatory development, ma'am, no, it has actually become a widespread, no, as one of the established community action initiative, no, nga gibuhat sa mga NGOs, gibuhat sa tong government, of course, to achieve a self-reliant community and, of course, sustainable growth and development across the political spectrum. No? So, this approach aims to empower individuals by providing equal and appropriate opportunities and, of course, allowing them to take part in the development process. Kaya dili man po pwede nga magsalig lang
Yes.
sa mga NGO, sa mga grupo, sa mga organization, or even in the government. Also, the social movement and institutional perspectives are being used to clearly define the ideas of participatory development.
Okay, so the concept of participatory development is very essential. So particularly in the Philippines setting, considering that we are in developing country.
Yes.
So hence, the need for the locals, especially the marginalized, to join in the development process is to vital to improve their quality of life. So furthermore, participatory development once achieved could be rebound to more meaningful partnership from the higher hierarchy down to grassroots level.
Yes, ma'am. No, so the government, ma'am, including of course the NGOs, no, has made an effort, no, to introduce participation in programs. Kaya mo nang gitawag na tong participatory development, no? So dili lang gobyerno, dili lang mga organization, but also the people.
Yes.
No? To introduce participation in programs such as poverty alleviation, agrarian reform, no, the solid waste management, medical missions, and other relevant activities that further address the problems inside the community. So, miingon gali ang isa ka author, ma'am, when people share a strong sense of community, they are motivated and empowered to change problems they face and are better able to mediate the negative effects over things which they have no control. No? Maunay, kumbaga, unsa ka importante po di ay ang participation sa community, no, sa gipangbuhat nga mga lakang, no, or programs sa government para ma-address kung unsay problema sa community or sa country.
Okay, so moreover, according to Chavez et al. 1990, a sense of community is the glue that can hold together a community development effort. Okay, so this concept suggests that programs that foster membership, increase influence, meet needs, and develop assured emotional connections among community members. So Chavez et al. 1990 can serve as the catalyst for change and engaging individuals and the community in health decision-making and action.
Okay, yes, ma'am. No? So, mo nang gitawag na tong empowerment,
Yes.
advocacy, and participatory development in community action initiatives. Wherein, ang atong mga learners, no? So, maka-explain na gyud sila.
Yes.
No? Maka-analyze na gyud sila kung unsa gyud ay ning empowerment, unsa di ning advocacy, ug unsa di ay kaimportante ang participatory development sa community action initiatives. Wherein, sila man pod, part man sila sa community.
Yes.
Dili lang man kay kita sila apil.
Yes.
Kita tanan kumbaga. No? So learners, no, let us try to understand na deeper about this, no, about this competency by answering your activity. So learners, kindly check your activity number 2 sa inyong self-learning materials. So based on our discussion, no, answer the questions in your activity. Pwede na ninyo gamiton ang space nga naa sa inyong SLM para dira ibutang ang inyong answers. So, unsa man ning activity,
Yes, so
ma'am?
we have here the following questions. Okay. Is it important to empower people and why? Okay. What steps do you undertake to influence or help shape local government in your area or operations? So, what are the expected results of advocacy? So, what social issue would you advocate for and why?
Okay,
Okay.
so mauna ang ato ang
Rubrics.
rubrics natay rubrics, ma'am, no, para
Yes.
sa ilaang pag-answer sa
Sa
atong mga
acting.
nga question.
Okay, Ma'am Sherry. So, to the senior high school learners, please check the second attendance marker on the top of your screen.
Okay,
Okay.
yes. So, senior high school stars, no? We hope na ang lesson about communication in the government, in the private sector, no, in the processes of communication, as well as empowerment, advocacy,
and
participatory development, no, nakuha ninyo for this week nga competency sa ato ang discipline and ideas in the applied social sciences as well as in the community
engagement,
solidarity, and citizenship. No?
Okay, if you have questions, questions about the topics, you can write it down below.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's all for today. And this has been your mom, Siti Badria Datodakula from Tangub City National High School.
And I'm your mom, Shermy S. Epong, still from Tangub City National High School. Keep safe, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tayo, tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo, tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time.
The Department of Education, Division of Tangub City, in partnership with the local government unit of Tangub, presents Ang Tangkub, Transforming Advancement in the New Normal, Guiding K-12 Learners under Broadcast Media, crafted in response to the need of making education possible and accessible to students at the comfort of their homes. It covers the most essential competencies thematically layered in drama plays, which were originally written, directed, and performed by teachers to see to it that education is securely provided. This is Ang Tangkub.
It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya.
Welcome back mga grade 7 mathematics.
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-iisang programa nyo,
Ang Tangko! We learn all things ang saya! Ready na ba kayo?
hooray! Now, let us begin.
Today, in Mathematics 7, we will learn to gather statistical data and organize data in a frequency distribution table. Importance. Learning these lessons are important because in gathering statistical data and organizing this data in a frequency distribution table would help us in getting the different responses to the questions we seek for answers. And we could also make recommendations or solutions to the problems we want to solve. Evaluation. At the end of this lesson, you will gather statistical data and organize data in a frequency distribution table.
Have you ever wondered how the government identified the recipients of Social Amelioration Program? How did the DSWD identify the grantees for 4Ps beneficiaries? These questions can be answered if we collect data. A collection of data is done after the desired population is known. In conducting a study, the population or sample to be taken should be parallel to the objective of the study. When we say population, it refers to a set of people, animals, objects, measurements, and events involved in statistical study wherein the data are collected. The members of the group selected from the population are known as the sample. Population and sample can be illustrated using a Venn diagram. As illustration, for example, given a population of grade 7 students of school year 2019-2020, then the sample could be grade 7 of section Hope. Now using Venn diagram, this is the illustration. Now, let us have another example. Identify whether the following is a population or a sample. First, total number of islands in the Philippines. Is this a population or a sample? You're right. This describes population, since it refers to all the islands of the Philippines. Next, frontliners who serve at the boundaries of the province of Misamis Occidental. Is this a population or a sample? Correct. This describes a sample, since it refers to the frontliners who serve at the boundaries of Misamis Occidental only. Now, here are the methods in collecting data. First, we have direct method. Direct method consists of two methods, observation and interview. In an observation method, the researcher sees the situation directly, while in an interview, this can be classified as personal, telephone, or online interview. It is done through direct conversations with the interviewee. Next is indirect method. Indirect method also consists of two methods, questionnaire and registration. For questionnaire method, this method uses a questionnaire, while for registration method, this method gathers data from legal documents imposed by laws such as registered certificates. Now let us have an example. In gathering the following data, determine the appropriate method to be used. First, total enrollment of La Candula High School. The method to be used is registration, since the data are legal documents. Next, number of most punctual students. The method to be used is correct, observation, since this can be done through observation. Next, preferred senior high school strand. The method to be used in gathering this data is correct, questionnaire, since we need to use questionnaire to gather this data. How about effects of gadgets to the students? The method to be used is interview, since this can be done through direct conversation. Now, let's proceed to organizing data in a frequency distribution table or FDT. One way of organizing data in a most systematic and organized manner is using a table. It is more effective when the title clearly states what the table is all about. The data are arranged systematically in columns and properly labeled. The date of the survey is indicated, and the source of the data is properly identified. Observe the tabular form of the data below. As you can see, this type of presentation of data is easier to read and interpret. This tabular method of organizing data is called Frequency Distribution Table or FDT. Now, to further understand Frequency Distribution Table or FDT, let us first define frequency. When we say frequency, it tells you how often something happened. The frequency of an observation tells you the number of times the observation appears in the data. For example, in the following list of numbers, number 6 appears 5 times in the list. So, the frequency of the number 6 is 5. Frequency Distribution Table or FDT also allows you to find patterns in your data. Now, how to organize data in a frequency distribution table? Well, let us have examples. Elvis' mother goes home with a box of assorted fruits. The fruits inside the box are shown below. Now, to organize the given data in FDT, simply follow the steps. Step 1. Create a table with 3 columns. Label each column accordingly. We have fruit, tally, and frequency. Step 2. Write the categories or the names of fruits in the first column. Now, in the given data, the fruits are apple, orange, durian, pineapple, and watermelon. Step 3. Tally the number of occurrences of the particular fruit. Now, based on the given data, there are 11 apples, 10 oranges, 8 durians, 5 pineapples, and 3 watermelons. Next, count the tally marks and write the frequency in the third column. We now have Next step, finalize the table. Make sure to write the title. Now, the title for this FDT should be Frequency Distribution Table of the Assorted Fruits Inside the Box. Note, you can also omit the second column. If you do, your frequency distribution table will look like this. Therefore, this is the frequency distribution table of the assorted fruits inside the box. This frequency distribution table is specifically called an ungrouped frequency distribution table. Take note, data is often described as ungrouped or grouped. Ungrouped data is data given as individual data points, while grouped data is data given in intervals. Now, let us have another example. Consider this ungrouped frequency distribution table. As you observe, even if we put the data into a frequency distribution table, the distribution is quite long because it has too many different numbers. To avoid this, we can shorten the table by compressing the data. We can use Group Frequency Distribution Table. Group Frequency Distribution Table takes into consideration groups of data in the form of class intervals. When we say class intervals, these are generally equal in width and are non-overlapping from each other. In a class interval 5 to 10, the lower class limit is 5 and the upper class limit is 10. To use class intervals in frequency distribution table, follow these steps. Step 1. Choose the number of classes or intervals of the distribution. In the given set of scores, use 5 as the number of intervals or classes. Therefore, class intervals is equal to 5. Step 2. Get the range or the difference between the highest and the lowest values. So, range is equal to highest score minus the lowest score. The highest score in the given data is 50, and the lowest score is 25. 50 minus 25 is equal to 25. Therefore, the range is equal to 25. Step 3. Solve the class width or class size by dividing the range by the number of classes or intervals. We now have class size is equal to range over class interval. Now, since the range is equal to 25 and class interval is equal to 5, substituting their values, we now have 25 over 5. Simplifying, 25 over 5 or 25 divided by 5 is equal to 5. Therefore, the class size is equal to 5. Note, if the class size results to decimal, then round up to the next integer. Example, 2 instead of 1.83 or 5 instead of 4.26. Step 4. Identify the starting point or the first lower class limit. If the class size is even, use the lowest score as the starting point. If the class size is odd, use the multiple of the class size, which is less than or equal to the lowest score, as the starting point. Now, since the class size is 5, which is odd, then the first lower class limit or starting point is 25, which is multiple of 5 and is equal to the lowest score. Next step, determine the class intervals. Now, since the class size is 5 and our starting point is 25, then the class intervals are 25 to 29, 30 to 34, 35 to 39, 40 to 44, 45 to 49, and 50 to 54. Note, to determine the upper class limit of all the intervals, subtract 1 from the lower limit of the next interval. For example, the lower limit of the second interval is 30. Then, 30 minus 1 is equal to 29. Therefore, the upper class limit of the first interval is 29. Continue the process until you reach the last class interval. Now, looking at the table, instead of 5 as our class intervals, we need 6 class intervals in order to contain the highest score, which is 50. Next step, add all the frequency of the scores within the class interval. So, starting from the first class interval, which is 25 to 29, add all the frequencies. Based on the given data, we now have 2 plus 0 plus 0 plus 3 plus 2, and that is equal to 7. Therefore, the frequency for the first interval is 7. For the interval 30 to 34, adding their frequencies, the frequency is 15. For the interval 35 to 39, adding the frequencies, we now have 14. For the interval 40 to 44, adding the frequencies, we now have 3. For the interval 45 to 49, adding the frequencies, we now have 9. For 50 to 54, adding the frequencies, we now have 2. Last step, finalize your FDT. Make sure to write the title. Therefore, this is the frequency distribution table of the test scores of 50 grade 7 students. This is an example of grouped frequency distribution table.
Before we can gather data, we make sure that the statistical instrument used in answering the problem is already floated to the respondents. In gathering the data, we simply collect the different responses of all our respondents using the different methods, direct method or indirect method. Now, here is how we gather the data. We start first with the problem. Our problem is again, what is the most liked subject of the class of grade 7 Baybayin? Next, let us identify who and how many are our respondents. There are 20 students enrolled in grade 7 Baybayin. Here is the identified list of learners. Third, use either direct or indirect method in gathering the data. Using the direct method or interview, the teacher asked the 20 students of grade 7 Baybayin about their liked subject. After the interview, the teacher already gathered the data. Now, in organizing the gathered and grouped data in a frequency distribution table, we follow some steps. Step 1. Create a table with 3 columns. Label each column accordingly. Liked subject, tally, and frequency. Step 2. Write the categories or the names of subjects in the first column. So we have Araling Panlipunan, English, ESP, Filipino, MAPE, Mathematics, and Science. Step 3. Tally the number of occurrences of the liked subject. Starting from the first learner on the list, Agpoon Jeff Norix likes mathematics. So we put 1 tally mark on the tally column aligned with the subject mathematics. Second learner on the list is Alamag John Mark. He likes science. So we put 1 tally mark on the tally column aligned with science. The third learner on the list is Arcadio Genray. He likes MAPE. So we put 1 tally mark on the tally column aligned with the subject MAPE. And so on. Same process will be done to the fourth up to the last learner on the list. Step 4. Count the tally marks and write the frequency in the third column. Araling Panlipunan has 2, so therefore, the frequency is 2. English has 2 tally marks, therefore, the frequency for English is 2. ESP has 1 tally mark, therefore, the frequency of ESP is 1. Filipino has 3, MAPE has 3, Mathematics has 6, and Science has 3. Step 5. Finalize the table. Make sure to write the title. The title for this problem is Frequency Distribution Table of the Most Liked Subject in Class of Grade 7 Baybayin of Tangub City National High School for school year 2021-2022.
Complicated? No! Then it's time to get your activity sheet in this lesson and answer the given activities. Take your time in answering the activities.
If you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teacher printed below your activity sheet. To end, always remember that the essence of mathematics is not to make simple things complicated,
But to make complicated things simple.
Grade 8 learners, stay tuned and get ready for Math 8 is coming next.
Good luck and God bless everyone!
Welcome back mga grade 8 Mathematics.
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-isang programa nyo,
Ang Tangko! We learn all things ang saya! Ready na ba kayo?
hooray! Now, let us begin.
Today, we will learn on how to apply theorems on triangle inequalities. Importance of the lesson. Triangle inequality theorem is a useful tool in identifying a given set of three dimensions if it forms a triangle or not. Through these theorems on triangle inequalities, you will be able to apply these concepts in solving real-life problems. At the end of the lesson, you will apply theorems on triangle inequalities.
Let's start with the triangle inequality theorem. As we remembered, triangle inequality theorem states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the remaining side. It follows from the fact that a straight line is the shortest path between 2 points. The inequality is strict if the triangle is non-degenerated, meaning it has a non-zero area. Now before we go deeper and as sort of a review, let us try to answer first these questions. Can you make a triangle having the lengths 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, and 5 centimeters? You are right. The answer is no. We have learned that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the remaining side. Let's check this out. Since there is one statement which is false, then we can't make a triangle out of these given lengths. Now what about these lengths? 3, 4, and 5 centimeters. Very good. The answer is yes. We can make a triangle out of these given lengths. These kinds of questions prove that not all three given lengths can form a triangle. We should always remember that the triangle inequality theorem states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the remaining side. Now, to know this concept deeper, let us proceed to the next discussion about triangle inequalities. Here are the theorems given one triangle. Theorem 1. Theorem 1 states that if one side of a triangle is longer than a second side, then the angle opposite the first side is larger than the angle opposite the second side. As illustration, we have here triangle ABC with the given lengths AB equal to 4, BC equal to 5, and AC equal to 7. Theorem 1 states that if one side of a triangle is longer than a second side, then the angle opposite the first side is larger than the angle opposite the second side. This shows that if 5 is greater than 4 and less than 7, thus side BC is greater than side AB but less than side AC, then the measure of angle A is greater than the measure of angle C and less than measure of angle B. Here is an example. Write the angles from largest to smallest. Given triangle ABC. On the figure, we have noticed that side AC is the longest side, and side AB is the shortest side. Using the theorem 1, we can have angle B is the largest angle, since it is the opposite angle of the longest side, which is AC. Next is angle A. Angle A is next to angle B, since angle A is the larger angle because it is the opposite angle of the longer side BC. And the smallest angle now is, right, it's angle C, because it is the opposite angle of the shortest side, which is AB. Now, let us proceed to Theorem 2. Theorem 2 states that if one angle of a triangle is larger than a second angle, then the side opposite the first angle is longer than the side opposite the second angle. As illustration, we have here angle ABC with the given angles. Angle A is equal to 58 degrees. Angle B is equal to 78 degrees. And angle C is equal to 44 degrees. Now, Theorem 2 states that if one angle of a triangle is larger than a second angle, then the side opposite the first angle is longer than the side opposite the second angle. Thus, on this given illustration, if 58 degrees is less than 78 degrees but greater than 44 degrees, this follows that measure of angle A is less than measure of angle B but greater than measure of angle C, then side BC is less than side AC but greater than side AB. Let us have an example. Which side is the longest side in this triangle? Given triangle PQR. Given the angles, angle P is 57 degrees, angle R is 61 degrees. So first, we find the measure of angle Q. We know that the sum of the angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So we can have measure of angle Q is equal to 180 degrees minus 57 degrees minus 61 degrees. 180 minus 57 minus 61 is equal to 62. Therefore, angle Q is 62 degrees. Thus, angle Q is the largest angle, and therefore, using Theorem 2, this shows that side PR is the longest side. Next, Theorem 3. Theorem 3 states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. Theorem 3 is also known as the triangle inequality theorem. Now, as illustration, we have here triangle ABC. Given lengths AB equal to 12, BC equal to 17, and AC BX. Now, in this case, we have two options. We can have AC as the longest or BC as the longest. If AC is the longest, then we can have 12 plus 17 is greater than X. 12 plus 17 is equal to 29. So we can have 29 is greater than X. Using the properties of inequality, 29 greater than X can also be written as X is less than 29. Now, if BC is the longest, we can have X plus 12 is greater than 17. Using the subtraction property of inequality or the SPI, we can subtract both sides of the inequalities by 12. So we can have X plus 12 minus 12 is greater than 17 minus 12. 12 minus 12 is equal to 0. 17 minus 12 is equal to 5. So we can have X is greater than 5. Now, combining these two options, we can have an equality X is greater than 5 but less than 29. In the first option, it implies that the value of X, which is the side AC, must be less than 29, while on the second option, the value of X must be greater than 5. Therefore, as the value of X is greater than 5 but less than 29. This simply means that the values of X ranges from 6 to 28. To show this, let us have an example, then we will check if the inequality is true. Now, if X ranges 6 to 28, let us try X be equal to 20. If AC is the longest, then X is equal to 20, then we can have 12 plus 17 is greater than 20. 12 plus 17 is equal to 29. Is 29 greater than 20? Right, it is true.
Now what about if x is equal to 10, using BC as the longest? Let us try. If BC is the longest and x is equal to 10, then we can have 10 plus 12 is greater than 17. 10 plus 12 is equal to 22. Is 22 greater than 17? Right, it is true. Therefore, x could be any values from 6 to 28. Another theorem is exterior angle inequality theorem. This theorem states that the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is greater than the measure of either remote interior angle. As illustration, this shows that measure of angle 4 is greater than measure of angle 1, or measure of angle 4 is greater than measure of angle 2, or another is measure of angle 4 is equal to measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2. Now, let us have an example. Find the values of x and y by using the exterior angle theorem of a triangle. On this figure, angle x is the exterior angle. Thus, angle x is a linear pair of angle 92 degrees. So, to find the value of angle x, we can have angle x plus 92 is equal to 180 degrees. To solve, we could have angle x is equal to 180 minus 92 degrees. 180 minus 92 is equal to 88. So therefore, angle x is equal to 88 degrees. Now applying the exterior angle theorem, we get angle y plus 41 is equal to 88. Since the exterior angle inequality theorem states that the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of its two remote interior angles. So to solve, angle y now is equal to 88 minus 41. 88 minus 41 is equal to 47. Therefore, the value of y is equal to 47 degrees. Thus, on this problem, the value of x and y are 88 degrees and 47 degrees respectively. Now, here are the theorems if we have two triangles. We have the hinge theorem or the SAS inequality theorem. Hinge theorem states that if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, but the included angle of the first triangle is greater than the included angle of the second, then the third side of the first triangle is longer than the third side of the second. As illustration, this shows that side EF is greater than side BC. AB is equal to DE and AC is equal to DF. This follows that measure of angle D is greater than the measure of angle A. Another is the converse of hinge theorem or the SSS inequality theorem. Converse of hinge theorem states that if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, but the third side of the first triangle is longer than the third side of the second, then the included angle of the first triangle is larger than the included angle of the second. As illustration, this shows that two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle. Side BC is congruent to side DE. Side AC is also congruent to side DG. And since the third side of the first triangle is longer than the third side of the second, then therefore, measure of angle ACB is greater than the measure of angle GDE.
Now, let us apply the theorems on triangle inequalities given the following examples. Let us have the first example using the triangle inequality theorem 1. Name the smallest angle and the largest angle given the following triangles. The first triangle BAT has the side lengths 7 for side BA, 13 for side AT, and 18 for side BT. Will you identify the smallest angle? That is correct. Angle T is the smallest angle since it is the angle opposite to the shortest side BA. How about the largest angle? Very good. The largest angle is angle A since it is the angle opposite to the longest side BT. Now, let us proceed to triangle FED that has the side lengths 6 for side FD, 8 for side FE, and 10 for side ED. So, what is the smallest angle? Angle E is the smallest angle since it is the angle opposite to the shortest side FD. How about the largest angle? The largest angle is angle F since it's the angle opposite to the longest side ED. Let's proceed example number 2, which triangle inequality theorem 2 will be applied. Name the shortest side and the longest side given the following triangles. For triangle BAT, angle B measures 60 degrees, angle A measures 55 degrees, and angle T measures 65 degrees. Will you name its shortest side? Correct. The shortest side is side BT, since it is the side opposite to the smallest angle A. How about the longest side? That's right. The longest side is side BA, since it is the side opposite to the largest angle T. Next triangle, we have triangle FED, where angle F measures 103 degrees, angle E measures 31 degrees, and angle D measures 46 degrees. Will you identify its shortest side? Correct. The shortest side is side FD, since it is the side opposite to the smallest angle E. How about the longest side? That's right. The longest side is side ED, since it is the side opposite to the largest angle. Let us apply Hen's theorem given the figures. Find the possible values of x. As you observe in the two given triangles, side RS is congruent to side VW, and side ST is congruent to side WX, and also the measure of angle RST is 100 degrees and angle VWX measures 80 degrees. By Hen's theorem, measure angle RST is greater than measure angle VWX. Side RT is greater than side VX. Since the side RT is equal to 2x minus 1, and side Vx is equal to x plus 4, then the inequality becomes 2x minus 1 greater than x plus 4. To find the value of x, transpose positive x to the left side and it becomes negative x, and transpose negative 1 to the right side and it becomes positive 1. So the inequality becomes 2x minus x greater than 4 plus 1, and x is greater than 5 since 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. Therefore, the possible values of x are greater than 5.
Complicated?
No! Then it's time to get your activity sheet in this lesson and answer the given activities. Just take your time in answering the activities.
If you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teacher printed below your activity sheet.
To end, always remember that learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere.
So, education must continue. Grade 9 learners, stay tuned and get ready for Math 9 is coming next.
Good luck and God bless everyone!
Welcome back mga grade 9 Mathematics!
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-iisang programa nyo,
Ang Tangkub! We learn all things ang saya! Ready na ba kayo?
hooray! Now, let us begin.
Our today's lesson is all about finding the trigonometric ratios of special angles. Now, why do we need to study this lesson? Well, we need to study this lesson because this lesson is important since through this, we can precisely evaluate trigonometric expressions or problems involving special angles without the use of calculator. Now, learners, take note that at the end of this lesson, you will find the remaining trigonometric ratios of special angles to complete the summary table for the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angles.
The two special right triangles are the 30-60-90 right triangle and the isosceles 45-45-90 right triangle. In geometry, the following sides of special right triangles are related as follows. The 45-45-90 right triangle theorem states that in a 45-45-90 triangle, the legs are congruent. The length of the hypotenuse is square root of 2 times the length of the leg, or hypotenuse is equal to square root of 2 times the leg. The 30-60-90 right triangle theorem states that in a 30-60-90 triangle, the length of the hypotenuse is twice the length of the shorter leg. When we say shorter leg, it is the side opposite the 30-degree angle. And the length of the longer leg is square root of 3 times the length of the shorter leg. When we say longer leg, it is the side opposite the 60-degree angle. Or we have hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the shorter leg, and the longer leg is equal to square root of 3 times the shorter leg. Now let us have examples. Given the figure, find the length of the hypotenuse. Solution. Now since the given right triangle is a 45-45-90 right triangle, then applying the 45-45-90 right triangle theorem, we now have hypotenuse is equal to square root of 2 times the leg. Now since the hypotenuse is denoted by c, and the length of the leg is 4 feet, then substituting their values, we now have c is equal to square root of 2 times 4. Simplifying, square root of 2 times 4 is equal to 4 square root of 2. Therefore, the value of c, or the value of the hypotenuse, is equal to 4 times square root of 2, or 4 square root of 2 feet. Next example. Find the length of the longer leg and the hypotenuse of the right triangle below. Solution. Now since the given figure is a 30-60-90 right triangle, then applying the 30-60-90 right triangle theorem, we now have, first, solving for hypotenuse, hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the shorter leg. Now since the hypotenuse is denoted by x, and the shorter leg is equal to 7 centimeters, then substituting the value, we now have x is equal to 2 times 7. 2 times 7 is equal to 14. Therefore, the value of x, or the value of the hypotenuse, is equal to, right, 14 centimeters. Next, solving for the longer leg, we know that in a 30-60-90 right triangle, the longer leg is equal to square root of 3 times the shorter leg. Now since in the given figure, the longer leg is denoted by y, and the shorter leg is equal to 7 centimeters, then substituting the values, we now have y is equal to square root of 3 times 7. Simplifying, square root of 3 times 7 is equal to 7 square root of 3. Therefore, the value of y, or the value of the longer leg, is equal to 7 square root of 3, or 7 times square root of 3 centimeters. Now, based from the special right triangles, the 45-45-90 and 30-60-90 degrees, the 30-degree, 45-degree, and 60-degree angles are also called special angles.
Now, learners, how to find the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angles 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees? Well, to find the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angles 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees, we follow few steps. Step 1. Use the special triangle that includes the angle of interest and label its sides according to the ratios of that special triangle. Step 2. Identify the length of the hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite sides of the special right triangle relative to the indicated special angle. Step 3. Substitute the values or the lengths of the sides we identified in Step 2 into the following definitions of the 6 trigonometric ratios. Then, simplify. Now, let us find the trigonometric ratios of special angle 45 degrees. So, to find the trigonometric ratios of special angle 45 degrees, again, we follow these steps. Step 1. We use the special right triangle that includes the angle of interest and label its sides according to the relationship of the sides of that special triangle. Now, since we are looking for the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angle 45 degrees, so we use the special right triangle 45-45-90 degrees. Now, to label its sides, we let A be the leg of the triangle. Now, since it is a 45-45-90 degrees right triangle, so the legs are congruent. So both legs are equal to A. Now, how about the hypotenuse of this right triangle? The hypotenuse is right square root of 2 times the leg. So, hypotenuse is equal to A square root of 2, or A times square root of 2. Step 2. Identify the length of the hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite sides of the special right triangle relative to the indicated special angle. Thus, we have the following. Now, based on the given figure, hypotenuse is equal to A square root of 2. Referring to angle 45 degrees, the opposite side of angle 45 degrees is equal to A. The adjacent side of angle 45 degrees is also equal to A. Note that in step 2, you can use either of the two 45-degree angle as your reference. Step 3. Substitute the values or the lengths of the sides we identified in step 2 into the following definitions of the 6 trigonometric ratios. Then, simplify. For sine 45 degrees, we know that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Now, since the opposite side of angle 45 degrees is equal to A and the hypotenuse is equal to A square root of 2, then we now have sine 45 degrees is equal to A over A square root of 2. Simplifying, A over A is equal to 1. So we now have 1 over square root of 2. Now, since in the denominator we have a radical expression, so we need to do rationalization. So we now have 1 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 over square root of 2. Take note that rationalization is the process of removing the radical sign in the denominator. Simplifying, 1 times square root of 2 is equal to, right, square root of 2. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is equal to square root of 4. Square root of 4 is equal to 2. So we now have square root of 2 over 2 as the value of sine 45 degrees. For cosine 45 degrees, its definition is adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, since the adjacent side of angle 45 degrees is equal to A and the hypotenuse is equal to A square root of 2, then we now have A over A square root of 2. So, simplifying, A over A is equal to 1. So, we now have 1 over square root of 2. Now, since we have radical in the denominator, so we do rationalization. So, we multiply the numerator and the denominator by square root of 2 to remove the radical in the denominator. So, we now have 1 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 over square root of 2. Simplifying, 1 times square root of 2 is equal to square root of 2. square root of 2 times square root of 2 is equal to square root of 4. Square root of 4 is equal to 2, so we now have square root of 2 over 2. Therefore, cosine 45 degrees is equal to, right, square root of 2 over 2. Now, how about tangent 45 degrees? We know that tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. Now, since the opposite side of angle 45 degrees is equal to A, and the adjacent side of angle 45 degrees is also equal to A, then we now have A over A. A over A is equal to 1. Therefore, tangent 45 degrees is equal to 1. For cosecant 45 degrees, we now have hypotenuse over opposite. Now, since the hypotenuse is A square root of 2, and the opposite side of angle 45 degrees is equal to A, then we now have A square root of 2 over A. Simplifying, A over A is equal to 1, or just cancel it out. So we now have square root of 2. Therefore, cosecant 45 degrees is equal to square root of 2. Now, for secant 45 degrees and cotangent 45 degrees, you will be the one to find their values, since they are included in your activity. Now, let us find the trigonometric ratios of special angle 30 degrees. Again, we follow few steps. Step 1. Use the special triangle that includes the angle of interest and label its sides according to the relationship of the sides of that special triangle. Now, since we are looking for the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angle 30 degrees, so we use the special right triangle 30, 60, 90 degrees. To label its sides, we let A be the shorter leg of the triangle. Now, since it is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, so the hypotenuse is twice the shorter leg. So, the hypotenuse is equal to 2A, or 2 times A. The longer leg is square root of 3 times the shorter leg. So, the longer leg is equal to, right, A square root of 3. Next, we have step 2. Identify the length of the hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite sides of the special right triangle relative to the indicated special angle. Thus, we have the following. Based on the figure, in step 1, hypotenuse is equal to 2A. And referring to angle 30 degrees, the opposite side of angle 30 degrees is equal to A. The adjacent side of angle 30 degrees is equal to A square root of 3. Step 3. Substitute the values or the lengths of the sides we identified in step 2 into the following definitions of the 6 trigonometric ratios, then simplify. Now, learners, for sine and cosine 30 degrees, you will be the one to find their values since they are included in your activity. Now, let us start with tangent 30 degrees. To find tangent 30 degrees, we use the definition of tangent. We now have opposite over adjacent. Now, since the opposite side of 30 degrees is equal to A, and the adjacent side of angle 30 degrees is equal to A square root of 3, then we now have A over A square root of 3. Simplifying, A over A is equal to 1, so we now have 1 over square root of 3. Now, since we have a radical in the denominator, so we can do rationalization. So we multiply both numerator and denominator by square root of 3. So we now have 1 over square root of 3 times square root of 3 over square root of 3. Simplifying, 1 times square root of 3 is equal to square root of 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is equal to square root of 9. So we now have square root of 3 over square root of 9. Square root of 9 is equal to 3. So we now have square root of 3 over 3. Therefore, tangent 30 degrees is equal to, right, square root of 3 over 3. How about cosecant 30 degrees? For cosecant 30 degrees, we now have hypotenuse over opposite. Now, since the hypotenuse is equal to 2A and the opposite side of angle 30 degrees is equal to A, so we now have 2A over A. Simplifying, we can cancel the A in the numerator and denominator, so we now have 2 left. Therefore, cosecant 30 degrees is equal to 2. For secant 30 degrees, we now have hypotenuse over adjacent. Now, since the hypotenuse is equal to 2A and the adjacent side of angle 30 degrees is equal to A square root of 3, so we now have 2A over A square root of 3. Simplifying, we can cancel out a in the numerator and denominator. So we now have 2 over square root of 3 left. Since we have a radical in the denominator again, we can do rationalization. So we multiply square root of 3, both the numerator and denominator. So we now have 2 over square root of 3 times square root of 3 over square root of 3. Simplifying, 2 times square root of 3 is equal to 2 square root of 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is equal to square root of 9. Square root of 9 is equal to 3. So we now have 2 square root of 3 over 3. Therefore, secant 30 degrees is equal to 2 square root of 3 over 3. For cotangent 30 degrees, we now have adjacent over opposite. Now, since the adjacent side of angle 30 degrees is equal to a square root of 3 and the opposite side of angle 30 degrees is equal to a, then we now have a square root of 3 over a. Simplifying, we can cancel the a in the numerator and denominator. So we now have square root of 3 left. Therefore, cotangent 30 degrees is equal to square root of 3. Now, how about finding the trigonometric ratios of special angle 60 degrees? Again, we follow few steps. Step 1. We use the special triangle that includes the angle of interest and label its sides according to the relationship of the sides of that special triangle. Now, since we are looking for the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angle 60 degrees, so we use the special right triangle 30, 60, 90 degrees. And to label its sides, we let A be the shorter leg of the triangle. Step 2. Identify the length of the hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite sides of the special right triangle relative to the indicated special angle. Now, based on the right triangle in step 1, the hypotenuse is equal to 2a. And referring to angle 60 degrees, the opposite side of angle 60 degrees is equal to a square root of 3. And the adjacent side of angle 60 degrees is equal to a. Step 3. Substitute the values or the lengths of the sides we identified in step 2 into the following definitions of the 6 trigonometric ratios. Then, simplify. Starting with sine 60 degrees, its definition, we know that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So we now have, since the opposite side of angle 60 degrees is equal to a square root of 3 and the hypotenuse of the 30, 60, 90 triangle is equal to 2a, so we now have a square root of 3 over 2a. Simplifying, we can cancel out a in the numerator and denominator. So we now have square root of 3 over 2 left. Therefore, sine 60 degrees is equal to square root of 3 over 2. For cosine 60 degrees, we now have adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, since the adjacent side of 60 degrees is equal to a and the hypotenuse is 2a, then we now have a over 2a. Simplifying, a over a is equal to 1, so we now have 1/2. Therefore, cosine 60 degrees is equal to, right, 1/2. For tangent and cosecant 60 degrees, well, you will be the one to find their values, since they are included in your activity. Now, for secant 60 degrees, we now have hypotenuse over adjacent. Now, since the hypotenuse is equal to 2a and the adjacent side of angle 60 degrees is equal to a, so we now have 2a over a. Simplifying, we can cancel out a in the numerator and denominator, so we now have 2 left. Therefore, secant 60 degrees is equal to 2. For cotangent 60 degrees, we know that cotangent is equal to adjacent over opposite. Now, since the adjacent side of angle 60 degrees is equal to a and the opposite side of angle 60 degrees is equal to a square root of 3, then we now have a over a square root of 3. Simplifying, a over a is equal to 1, so we now have 1 over square root of 3. Now, since we have a radical in the denominator, so we have to rationalize it. Rationalizing this, we multiply both the numerator and denominator by square root of 3. So we now have 1 over square root of 3 times square root of 3 over square root of 3. Simplifying, 1 times square root of 3 is equal to square root of 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is equal to square root of 9. So we now have square root of 3 over square root of 9. Square root of 9 is equal to 3. So we now have square root of 3 over 3. Therefore, cotangent 60 degrees is equal to square root of 3 over 3. Now learners, take note, familiarize the 6 trigonometric ratios of special angles since it is applicable in finding the exact values of trigonometric expressions without the use of calculator.
Complicated? No!
Now it's time to get your activity sheet in this lesson and answer the given activities.
Now take your time in answering the activities.
If you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teacher printed below your activity sheet. To end, always remember that the only way to learn mathematics
Is to do mathematics.
Grade 10 learners, stay tuned and get ready for Math 10 is coming next. Good luck and God bless everyone! Welcome back mga grade 10 Mathematics.
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-iisang programa nyo,
Ang Tangkub! We learn all things ang saya! Ready na ba kayo?
hooray! Now, let us begin.
Today's lesson is about calculating measures of positions, the quartile, decile, and percentile. As we all know, that mathematics is essential part of our life and the importance of math and calculation is well known in the fields of engineering, finance, artificial intelligence. For you learners, it is important to know and be exposed in calculations and how knowledge of mathematics can somehow help in choosing right career option. In addition to, calculation also is very important in household budgeting planning. With that, the end of the lesson, you learners are expected to calculate specified measures of positions of a given set of ungrouped data.
When we say quartiles, these are a form of percentiles that split the distribution into 4. Deciles are percentiles that split the data into groups of 10%. Percentiles, these are the 99 score points which divide a distribution into 100 equal parts. Now we have learned that quartiles, deciles, and percentiles can be solved through formulas. For quartiles, we have where k is the value of observation and n is the total number of elements in a given set. This formula is commonly known as Mendenhall and Sinchit's method. For deciles, we have this formula, where k is the value of observation and n be the number of elements. For percentiles, we also have where k is the value of observation and n be the number of elements.
On page 2 of your printed self-learning materials, you are tasked to calculate the first quartile or the lower quartile, third decile or D sub 3, and the 20th percentile or P sub 20 from the given and grouped data. In performing such tasks, the Mendenhall and Sinchi method that is being discussed in our previous episode can be used to calculate the specific measures of positions. Dealing with Mendenhall and Senshi method, we have to do the following procedures. First, examine the given set of ungrouped data if it is arranged in ascending order. If not, you have to arrange it in ascending order. Is the data arranged in ascending order? Yes, you're right. The data is not yet arranged in ascending order. What are we going to do now to our data if it is not arranged in ascending order? Very good answer. We are going to arrange it in ascending order. We now have 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 11, and 13. Second procedure. You have to count the number of elements in the given set of data for you to have the value of n, which is required in the next step. How many elements do we have in the given set of data? Correct. We have 7 elements in the given set of ungrouped data. We have 2 as the first element, 3 as the second element, 4 as the third element, 5 as the fourth element, 11 as the fifth element, 11 as the sixth element, and lastly, 13 as the seventh element of the given set of ungrouped data. If you are done with arranging the given set of data and counting its number of elements, you may now proceed to the third procedure. Our first task is to calculate the first quartile. We will take the formula Q sub k equals to 1 over 4 times n plus 1. The value of k is 1. Since k in the formula stands for the n term, it is over 4 because in quartile, the distribution is divided into 4 classes. The value of n is 7, since we have 7 elements in the given set of ungrouped data. Using Mendenhall and Senshi method, we have Q sub 1 equals to 1 over 4 times 7 plus 1. Q sub 1 equals to 1/4 times 8. Q sub 1 equals to 1 times 8 all over 4. We have Q sub 1 equals to 8 divided by 2. And the answer is 4. That value of Q sub 1, which is 4, implies that Q sub 1 is equal to the fourth element of the given set of ungrouped data. Looking back to the arranged set of ungrouped data above, the fourth element is 5. Therefore, the first quartile or the lower quartile in the given set of ungrouped data is 5. Second task is to calculate third decile of the given set of ungrouped data. Have you still remembered the procedures in illustrating the measures of positions? Very good. In task number 2, we will use the formula d sub k equals to k over 10 times n plus 1 for a reason that we will illustrate the third decile of the given set of ungrouped data. And we know already that in decile, the distribution is divided into 10 parts. We have now d sub 3 equals to 3 over 10 times 7 plus 1. D sub 3 equals to 3 over 10 times 8. D sub 3 equals to 3 times 8 all over 10. We have d sub 3 equals to 24 over 10. That will give you d sub 3 equals to 2.2. Rounded off, therefore, d sub 3 is approximately equal to 2. Such 2 implies that d sub 3 is the second element of the given set of ungrouped data. Looking back at the set of data above, second element falls on 3 in the given set of ungrouped data. Therefore, The third decile in the given set of ungrouped data is 3. Moving on, the third task is to calculate the 20th percentile of the given set of ungrouped data. For the third task, we will use the formula P sub k equals to k over 100 times n plus 1, for a reason that we will calculate the 20th percentile of the given set of ungrouped data. And we knew already that in percentile, the distribution is divided into 100 parts. We have now P sub 20 equals to 20 over 100 times 7 plus 1. P sub 20 equals to 20 over 100 times 8. P sub 20 equals to 20 times 8 all over 100. We have P sub 20 equals to 160 over 100, and that will give you P sub 20 equal to 1.6. Round it up, therefore, P sub 20 is approximately equals to 2. Such 2 implies that P sub 20 is the second element of the given set of ungrouped data. Looking back at the above set of ungrouped data, the second element falls on 3 in the given set of ungrouped data. Therefore, the 20th percentile in the given set of ungrouped data is 3.
Complicated? No!
Then it's time to get your activity sheet in this lesson and answer the given activities. Just take your time in answering the activities.
If you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teacher printed below your activity sheet. To end, always remember that learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere.
So, education must continue.
Good luck and God bless everyone!
We hope that you have learned the most essential lessons you need to master. See you on our next episodes. This has been Ang Tangkub.
It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fun, masaya. Tugtog lang.
Kung gusto mong maglingaw-lingaw, mga tawag magloling hayaw, mag-joyride na. Uba na ang imong barkada, silingan o pamilya, mag-joyride na. Sinatingon tang palibot, mga lugar sulod sa tanggob, mag-ubanta. Tan silang gato makilaw, sa sanabog sa pulaw, laagunta. Labi na yun sa huyuhoy, ugnang dapit tagkano kahoy, talanan. Maglibot tango, maglibot tango kita. Maglibay-libay, magsakay-sakay tala. Magkikiusap, magkikigala, let's get together, make life feel better. Kung gusto ka og entertainment, for fun and for enjoyment, no problem ka. Sinanduloy among pambato, kung usayo smart kaayo, believe you ka. Panahon sab sa Disyembre, super gid ka aligre, malingaw gid ka. Fireworks display, daghang ganahan, musidlak sa kalangitan, mapawagid ka. Christmas symbols, capital of the Philippines. Ninira na ninyo makita, friends, diba? Diri sa tanggok, maglibot tanggok kita. Maglipay-lipay, magsakay-sakay tala. Maghihiusa, maghihigala. Let's get together, make life feel better. Makita, friends, diba? Hapit sa tanggok, maglibot tanggok kita. Maglipay-lipay, magsakay-sakay tala. Maglibot tanggok, maglibot tanggok kita. Maglibot tanggok, maglibot tanggok kita. Maglibot tanggok, maglibot tanggok kita. Maghihiusa, maghihigala. Let's get together, make life feel better.
Sa mga aral sa mundo, tayo na. Pumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na.
The Department of Education, Division of Tangub City, in partnership with the local government unit of Tangub, presents Ang Tangkub, Transforming Advancement in the New Normal, guiding K-12 learners under broadcast media and instructional program crafted in response to the need of making education possible and accessible to students at the comfort of their homes. It covers the most essential competencies, thematically layered in drama plays which were originally written, directed, and performed by teachers to see to it that education is securely provided. This is Ang Tangkub.
Tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Umutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na.
Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to Astral Academy Cyber School. And yes, we are live this afternoon via tayo Facebook page and Astral Academy Facebook page. And today is Tuesday, and pag Tuesday, kami ang inyong makauban. Again, I am Miss Alvin Nueva.
And of course, Ma'am Gay Soterio Saavedra. So learners, welcome sa tuwang Quarter 4, Week 2 here in Astral Academy Facebook Live. And again, since today is Tuesday, of course, it is Mathematics Day para sa tuwang grade 7 to grade 10 learners.
Okay, so hello and welcome mga Mathematics. So Ma'am Gay, sugdan na nato. Mag-start na sa itong grade 7 lesson. Okay, so our competency for this week for grade 7 is to gather statistical data and organize this data in a frequency distribution table. So mo ginanga to ang two competencies for this week, Ma'am Gay. Okay, so why are we learning these things or these lessons? Well, learning these lessons are important because in gathering statistical data and organizing this data in a frequency distribution table would help us in getting the different responses to the questions we seek for answers. So, katong mga problems, Ma'am Gay. And we could also make recommendations or solutions to the problems we want to solve. Alright. So, at the end of this this Facebook Live, you learners sa inyong SLM, you will gather statistical data and organize data in a frequency distribution table. Okay, so before mag-target sa itong competency, Ma'am Gay, let us have a short definition on what is a collection of data. Ma'am Gay?
So when we say collection of data, it is done after the desired population is known. So in conducting a study, the population or sample to be taken should be parallel to the objective of the study.
Kaya dili magid pwede nga ang imong i-gather nga data dili related sa imong study nga research or gihimo. Okay, so before we can gather data, we make sure that the statistical instrument used in answering problem is already floated to the respondents. Kay dili magid ta maka-gather sa data kung wala pa nato na distribute ang ato ang mga questionnaires or statistical instruments. Okay? So in gathering the data, we simply collect. This means we simply collect the different responses of all our respondents using the different methods. So by the way, when we talk about respondents, these are actually the people nga involved or involves atong study or problem nga imuhang buhat. Okay? Now then, using the different methods. So it could be direct method or indirect method. Okay, so now here are the steps on to how to gather the data. So first, we start with the problem, of course. Okay, wala man kabalo sa data itong i-gather if wala tayo problem, right? Okay, so balik ta sa ato ang previous problem with last episode. What is the most liked subject of the grade 7 baybayin? Alright? So, mo totong, di ta mag-start sa ito ang pag-gather sa data. We have to go back always with the problem. The next to that is, we are going to identify on who and how many are our respondents. Okay? So, dapat kabalupod ta kung kinsa ang ato ang tagaan sa atong statistical instrument o pila pud kabuk ato ang hatagan. Okay? So, balik ta sa itong problem, what is the most liked subject of the class of grade 7 baybayin? So, basically, ang ato ang tagaan yun, Ma'am Gay, ang respondents sa itong study is the students of the grade 7 baybayin. And how many are there? Are them? Okay? So, basically, ato yung pangitaon unsa pila to kabuk mga estudyante sa ana nga klase. So, there are 20 students enrolled in grade 7 baybayin. So, basically, here are the list of our respondents. Okay? So, listahan. There are 20 students enrolled in the grade 7 baybayin. So, basically, kining 20 ato ang tagaan sa atong statistical instrument. Okay? Anyway, you can find this one on your printed materials. Okay, so, using the direct or indirect method in gathering the data. We have to use direct or indirect method. Okay, so nakita natin sa itong video lesson kaganina on sa difference sa direct method and indirect method. So gamay lang nga overview, Ma'am Gay, on sa gani mga naa sa direct method.
Alright, so for the direct method, so we have these two. So we have the observation and interview. So from the word itself, direct. So pwede tayo interview diretso or through observation.
Yes.
Okay? So when we say observation, the researcher sees the situation directly. So sama sa akong giingon kaganina. And when we say interview, this can be classified as personal, telephone, or online interview. So it is done through direct conversations with the interviewee or the respondent.
Yes. Okay, so indirect method also consists of questionnaire. So when you talk about questionnaire, this method uses a questionnaire, kanang na a set of questions. Okay? Then it could be registration. So when we talk about registration, this method gathers data from legal documents imposed by laws such as registered certificates. Okay? So some examples would be the population of Region 10. So kailangan yun na tumagot na sa law, registrar or registrar's office for the population for the Region 10. Dili gid mga buot-buot or inana ma'am gay, no? So those are two methods in gathering the data. It could be direct method or indirect method. Now, balik ta sa atong problem. Now, using the direct method, and that is the interview. Okay? Si teacher nag-ask sa 20 students, balik ta sa atong what is the most liked subject of the class of the grade 7 baybayin. So about their liked subject, ga-interview si teacher. So the teacher already gathered the data through the interview, and here is now the gathered data. Okay, as you can see, we have here the name of the students, and the second column is their preferred like subject. So that is how we simply gather the data. Simple lang jud, mag-collect lang ta og data. Okay? Now next. Okay, so the second competency that we have is organizing the data in a frequency distribution table. So since we already have here our gathered data, so unsa tong next nga buhaton ani Ma'am Gay? So mo na natin i-organize nato ni nga data through the frequency distribution table. So we also have steps. Ma'am Gay, can you do the step 1?
Alright, so in organizing data in frequency distribution table, we follow these steps. So first step would be, we are going to create a table with 3 columns. So we are going to label each column accordingly. So we have in the first column, the liked subject of the respondents. And then for the second column, we have the tally. And of course, for the third column, we have the frequency.
Okay, so just like this example, so maghimo sa tagtulo ka table. So our study is what is the most liked subject of the class of the grade 7 baybayin. So the first column would be the liked subjects. The second one is the tally, and the third one is for the frequency. Now, next step is we write the categories or the names of subjects in the first column. So, unsa man nga mga subjects ang or mo ang mga options nato Ma'am Gay sa atong statistical instrument. So, basically, we have here araling panlipunan, English, ESP, Filipino, MAPE, Mathematics, and Science. So, maura ni ang subjects nga naa sa class sa grade 7 baybayin. So, mo na itong ibutang sa ato ang like subject, and that is our step 2. For our third step, Ma'am Gay,
so for our third step, we're going to tally the number of occurrences of the liked subject. So starting from the first learner on the list, we have Agpoon, Jeff Norex.
Yes.
So he likes mathematics, so we put 1 tally mark on the tally column, no, sa mathematics
Here.
part.
Sa mathematics
Okay.
part.
And then after that, for the second learner on the list is Alamag John Mark. So he likes science. So we put 1 tally mark on the tally column aligned with science. So inanara, kung naay math isa, then itali po na to sa
tally nga column.
Yes, sa row sa subject. And so on.
So same process will be done up to the last learner. So basically mo na niya to ang resulta sa ato ang tally sa step 3. Alright? So after na matali ang tanang like subjects of each learner, then we are now ready to count the tally marks and write the frequency in the third column. So ipon na nato. Mo na dahil ni siya. Sa araling panlipunan, we have 2 tally marks. Therefore, on the frequency, we write 2. Okay? And so with English, since we have 2 tally marks here, then in the frequency table, we have to write 2. ESP has 1 tally mark, so we have to write 1. And so with other subjects. So all you have to do in step 4 is to count the number of tally marks and i-write nato siya sa ato ang frequency table or the third column. Okay, next step is, this is already the last one. So, after writing the frequency, now you're going to finalize the table. Make sure that your table has a title. Okay, so this is already the final product on how to organize the data and group data using a frequency distribution table. So this is now here the final output. We have here the frequency distribution table of the most liked subject of the class of the grade 7 Baybayin. So that is how we gather statistical data and we organize the data in a frequency distribution table. So the steps are very detailed, so therefore dili gyud mo maglisod, learners. So we do hope that you learned our competency for this week for the Mathematics 7. Grade 8 lessons will be discussed after a short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School.
Sa duha tulo, upat lima unom, ang mati ay sayon. Sa duha tulo, upat lima unom, ang mati ay sayon. Addition o multiplication, subtraction o ang division. Problema dali ra sulbaron, kay ang mati ay sayon. Sa duha tulo, upat lima unom, ang mati ay sayon. Sa duha tulo, upat lima unom, ang mati ay sayon. Ang mati ay sayon. Ang mati ay sayon.
Tayo, tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo, tayo na.
Still here in Astral Academy Cyber School. Alright, so Ma'am LV, we're done with grade 7 mathematics. So karon magpadayon ta sa ato ang grade 8 mathematics. Quarter 4, week 2 of course. So our lesson is all about applying theorems on triangle inequalities. Now, why do we need to study this lesson? It is because triangle inequality theorem is a useful tool in identifying a given set of 3 dimensions if it forms a triangle or not. So through these theorems on triangle inequalities, you learners will be able to apply these concepts in solving real-life problems. Take note, learners, that at the end of this lesson, you will apply theorems on triangle inequalities. Alright? So, actually, Ma'am LV, there are 5 theorems on triangle inequalities. And then, ang tulo ani nga mga theorems, na-discuss na nato last meeting. Okay? So, ang focus na to karon, yes, i-discuss gyud na to ang 5, but we're going to apply the theorems in solving a certain problem. Now, let us start with our first theorem for triangle inequality theorem. So, we have here theorem 1. Okay, here. So, theorem 1, or the SSAA, the relationship of the sides of a triangle to its corresponding opposite angles. So, theorem 1 here states that if one side of a triangle is longer than a second side, then the angle opposite the first side is of course larger than the angle opposite the second side. So, yun na kay sabton si theorem 1. It's because, ang concept lang niya is, if the longer the side, so given the side sa triangle, the longer the side, larger pod ang opposite angle niya. So kung shortest kinamubuan siya nga side in a given triangle, then of course, ang opposite angle niya, the smallest pod. Okay? So here, in our given figure, so we have here triangle ABC. As you can see, side AB measures 4, and then side BC or side CB measures 5, and then side AC measures 7. So, sa figure pa lang, makabalo na ta, unsa nga angle ang kinadak-an, unsa pod nga angle ang kinagamyan. Again, theorem 1, nagpasabot nga dako nga side or taas nga side, ang opposite nga angle, largest pod. Okay? So here, what do you think is the largest angle sa ato ang given triangle? So, klaro kaayo that the largest angle is angle B. Okay? So, angle B here is the largest angle. It is because the side opposite to angle B is the longest side. Okay? And then, what do you think is the smallest angle? So, this one. That is angle C. So, angle C here is the smallest angle. It is because by theorem 1, shortest side man si side AB, which is the opposite side of the angle C. So, ana lang ka-simple ang theorem 1. Now, let us apply this theorem, class, in our example. Okay? So, timan-an ha. The longer the side, the larger the angle. The shorter the side, the smaller the opposite or its opposite angle. Okay? So, we have here triangle TBA. So, what do you think, class, is the largest angle in this triangle? So, it's very obvious that the longest side is this side, BT or TB, which measures 18 units. Okay? And then, the opposite angle man of this side is angle A. So, this angle, then we can say that angle A is the largest angle. So, yun ana lang yun. So, atong isulat, angle A is the largest angle. Okay? And then, what do you think is the smallest angle? So, here, the smallest angle is, of course, this angle, angle T. What is the reason? Yes, that is theorem 1. Since si side BA or si AB is the shortest side, then ang opposite angle niya, which is the angle T, is the smallest angle. So, angle T here is the smallest angle. Okay? Now, if you are going to write the measures of the angle in ascending order, so kinsa man nga angle ang maguna, of course, the smallest one. So, we have angle, so angle T first, and then followed by what angle? So, that is, of course, angle B. And then, the last one, ang pinakadako, that is angle A. Okay? So, this is writing the angles in ascending order based on their measure. So, yun na lang yun sa theorem 1. So, given ang figure, given the sides of the triangle, we can easily determine kung kinsa ang largest angle and then the shortest one. Okay? Now, how about theorem 2 of the triangle inequality theorem? Okay? LV, what is theorem 2
Okay, theorem 2 states that if one angle of a triangle is larger than a second angle, then the side opposite the first angle is longer than the side opposite the second angle.
Okay. So actually, Ma'am LV, si theorem 2 is the converse.
Bali.
Oh, yes, converse
theorem
of
one.
theorem 1. So kung si theorem 1, given the sides of the triangle, then we can determine the largest and the smallest angle. Si theorem 2, given ang mga angles. So given the angles of a triangle, we can easily determine, by theorem 2, we can easily determine o kinsa nga side ang longest o kinsa pod nga side ang shortest. So for theorem 2, ang pasabot lang niya is the larger the angle, the longer its opposite side. Okay? And then the smaller the angle, the shorter its opposite side. So here in our figure, we have here triangle BAC. And as you can see, si angle B ang kinadak-an nga angle, which measures 78 degrees. Okay? Therefore, what do you think is the longest side of this given triangle? So, klaro kaayo, that is side CA or side AC. So,
Simply
kaninga
the opposite side.
Yes, because this side is the opposite of this angle, which is the largest angle. So, again, side AC is the longest side of this given triangle. Now, class, what do you think is the shortest side of this given triangle? So, by theorem 2, that is, that is side BA or side AB. So, kaninga side ang sakto ba? Yes, no?
44 degrees.
We have, since si angle C man ang pinakagamay nga angle, which is 44 degrees, then we can say that its opposite side is the shortest side. Okay? So, here. Sa figure lang, no? Murag dili.
Shortest. But actually, based on the given, then based also with the theorem, we can say that the opposite side of the smallest angle is the shortest side.
So, ubang figure manggod makalinlang,
Yes.
no? Makatuma
So, magbase kita sa given.
So, dapat magbase ta sa given, and of course, we're going to apply the theorem sa dayon kung maka-encounter magnani nga problem. Okay? So, now let us have an example applying theorem 2 on triangle inequality. So, here. So, if we have triangle, this one, wait for a while. Okay, so this. So, triangle TAB. So, learners, what do you think is the longest side? Okay? So, based on the figure, klaro kaayo that the longest side is, of course, side BA or side AB. Because the opposite angle of this side is the largest angle. Okay? Klaro man nga 65 degrees ang kinadak-an nga angle sa given. And what do you think is the shortest side? So, of course, this side BT is the shortest side because based or applying theorem 2, the smallest angle man is angle A. So, its opposite side is side BT. So, that's why makaingon ta nga shortest side is side BT. So, ina na lang concept ni theorem 1 and then ni theorem 2. So, again, theorem 1, given the sides of the angle, we can easily determine the largest and smallest angles. Theorem 2, converse. Given the angles, we can easily determine the shortest and the longest side of the given triangle. Now, let us proceed to our theorem 3. Okay? So, what is theorem 3 all about, Ma'am LV?
Theorem 3 is the triangle inequality theorem.
Okay.
Okay, actually we already discussed this one last episode. Okay, so triangle inequality theorem states that the sum of any two sides' length of a triangle is greater than the third side length.
Okay. So here. So again, theorem 3 states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. So we have here this figure. We have triangle ABC. Theorem 3 states that, ingon anira, if we are going to add side AC and side BC, then it is greater than the remaining side, which is side AB. So another, if we are going to add side BC and then side AB, then it is greater than the other side or the remaining side, which is AC. Okay? And then, another is, if we are going to add side AB and side AC, then it is greater than, or its measure is greater than what? What side? That is side BC. Okay. So if ing satisfy, given a triangle class, ming satisfy aning nga theorems or aning nga mga statements nga ang sum sa measure sa duha ka sides sa triangle is greater than the remaining side, then meaning to say ning satisfy sa theorem 3, or meaning to say ang triangle is or does exist gyud. Kung
Yes.
ana man gani ang case. Alright? Now, let us have an example applying Theorem 3 of triangle inequality. Okay, here. Alright. Now, for our example, we are going to find the possible values of x, okay, nga ning satisfy sa ato ang Theorem 3, which is all about triangle inequality theorem. Okay? So, in solving for the possible values of x class in this given figure, so we have two options. Okay? Ang first option na to, what if si AC or si x is the longest side? So, what if AC is the longest side? Then we can have this inequality, this one, 12 plus this side AB plus this side BC, which is 17, is greater than the remaining side, which is x. Okay? Now, if we are going to find the possible values of x here, then we simplify. So, 12 plus 17, that is, of course, 29. So, 29 here, we now have 29 is greater than x, or x is less than 29. Okay? So, this is the first option. So, we need the second option para mahibaw-an gid nato ug unsa ang mga possible values of x nga dapat mo satisfy sa ato ang triangle inequality theorem. Alright? So, for our second option, what if class, if this side BC is the longest side? So, if side BC is the longest side, then we can have this inequality, x plus 12. So, this side AC plus this side AB is greater than the remaining side, which is 17, or side BC. Okay? Now, if we are going to solve for the value of x here, then we are going to apply the APE, addition property of equality. So, we subtract both sides by 12. So, we now have x plus 12 minus 12 is greater than 17 minus 12. Again, we are going to solve for the possible values of x here. And then simplifying, 12 minus 12 is 0. So, we have x here. And then 17 minus 12, that is equal to 5. So, we now have x is greater than 5. So, this is the result of our second option. Now, if we are going to combine the result, then we now have the concept that the possible values of x day class are dapat si x greater pa ni 5, but x less than 29. So, writing that, we have x must be less than 29, but x here is greater than 5. Okay. So, nga namang less than 29 si x dapat ng LV. It's because if 29 si x na to dire or greater pa ni 29, then dili na siya mo satisfy sa ato ang triangle inequality theorem. Okay, if ever
going to add the 12 and 17, it's not greater than the 29 anymore.
Yes. And then, how about si x dapat greater than ni 5? Ganun dili man pwede si 5 below. Okay? Because if we are going to add 12 and 17 here, and then if we're going to add 12 plus, ibutanta lang 5. Okay? Ibutanta lang x is equal to 5. 5 plus 12, that is 17. 17 is not greater than 17. So, dapat dako pa ang result, and sum is dako pa ang result sa third side. So, here are the possible values of x. So, dapat si x less than 29, but should be greater than 5. So, what are the possible values?
So, greater than 5, we have 6.
We have 6. So, the range would be 6 to
28.
28. Okay? So, mauni mga
So,
possible values.
we have to do the two options, good ma'am Gay, no?
Yes, dapat yun. Nga himuon or isolve sa ginato ang duha ka options para makadetermine ta sa mga possible values na x if maka-encounter ta ani nga problem. And again, pwede nimo i-check ang imong answer if may satisfy ba sa ato ang triangle inequality theorem. Okay? So again, the possible values of x here are ranges from 6 to 28, or could be
Greater
x
than
is less
5.
than 29 and x is greater than 5.
Yes.
Okay, so I hope nasabtan. See, triangle inequality theorem 3. Right? Now let us proceed to our next theorem, the exterior angle inequality theorem. Okay, here. So, Ma'am LV, what is the exterior angle inequality theorem?
Okay, exterior angle inequality theorem states that the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is greater than the measure of either remote interior angle.
Okay. So,
Na-discuss na po din siya,
actually,
Ma'am Gay.
na-discuss na nato
Yes,
last time.
last episode.
So, as a sort of review lang, so given this figure, our exterior angle here is angle 4, and the remote interior angles are angle 1 and 2. When we say remote interior angles, these are the angles na wala ni form og linear pair sa atuang exterior angle. So again, angle 4 here is the exterior angle, and 1 and 2 are the remote interior angles. So the concept of exterior angle inequality theorem, class, is this one. See, exterior angle should be greater than either of the two remote interior angles, and then atuang exterior angle should be what? Is equal to the sum of the measures of our remote interior angles. Now, let us have an example. Let us apply this theorem, okay, in solving this problem. Now, suppose, class, the measure of angle A here is 120 degrees, and the measure of angle C here is 50 degrees. Now, what do you think is the measure of angle D? Okay? So, in this case, pwede na ito ma-apply si exterior angle inequality theorem. Right? Take note that the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two remote interior angles. Then we have 120 degrees, the exterior angle, is equal to the sum of angle C and angle D. Okay. Now, if we are going to substitute the values, we now have 120 degrees is equal to, since angle C here is 50 degrees, then substituting it, we now have this one, plus the measure of angle D, the unknown. So, ito ang i-find ang measure ni angle D. Now, if we are going to use the addition property of equality para si angle D na lang mabilin sa pikas, or pwede na po tayo mag-transpose, we now have 120 degrees minus 50 degrees. And that is equal to the angle D. So, 120 minus 50, that is 70 degrees. And that is the measure of angle D. So, the I, given this problem, angle D here measures 70 degrees. Okay? So, since the exterior angle is the sum of the measures of the two remote interior angles. So, 50 plus 70, that is 120 degrees. So, I hope nasabtan sa exterior angle inequality theorem. Now, let us proceed to our last theorem, the hinge theorem, and its converse. Okay? Ma'am LV, what is the hinge theorem?
Okay, hinge theorem, or SAS inequality theorem, states that if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, but the included angle of the first triangle is greater than the included angle of the second, then the included angle of the first triangle is larger than the included angle of the second. Okay, so that is all about hinge theorem.
How about the converse of the hinge
so it has
theorem?
also a converse of the hinge theorem. So the converse of hinge theorem, or the SSS inequality theorem, states that if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, but the third side of the first triangle is longer than the third side of the second, then the included angle of the first triangle is larger than the included angle of the second.
Okay, so actually, na-discuss na po nato ni
Yes,
last time.
na po
Na-explain na
bang
nato si hinge theorem and its converse. So, balikon lang nato. So, duha ka triangles ang ma-involve. Okay? So, if ang duha ka sides sa ato ang isa ka triangle congruent sa duha ka sides sa isa pud ka triangle, and then the included angle of the first triangle or the second triangle baka is greater than the included angle of the other triangle, then that means that the opposite side ato nga included angle is dako pa sa opposite side sa isa ka angle. So here in our illustration, so we have triangle ABC and triangle DEF. So the included angle of the first figure is 40 degrees and the included angle of the second figure is 65 degrees. So klaro kaayo nga si 65 degrees ang dako og measure. So therefore, it follows that applying hinge theorem, it follows that the opposite side of the included angle 65 degrees is longer pa than the opposite side of angle 40 degrees. So yun ana ra gyud ang concept ni hinge theorem. So converse of the hinge theorem given ang opposite side sa included angle. So parihaan nga figure. So in this first triangle ABC, the opposite side of the included angle measures 3.2. In the other triangle DEF, the opposite side of the included angle measures 3. It's very obvious na 3.2 ang dako pa. So it follows na dayon that the opposite angle of this side is greater or larger than the opposite angle of this triangle. Okay? So, yung ana ra si converse, si hinge theorem and its converse. Now, let us proceed to its example. We're going to apply the hinge theorem, okay, in solving this problem. So, given this figure, we're going to find the possible values of x. Okay? So, as you can see, we have triangle RST and triangle VWX. So, the included angle in the first is angle S, which measures 100 degrees. And the second one, the included angle is 80 degrees. Okay? So, here's angle S ang dako pa kaysa ni angle W. Then, by the hinge theorem, we can say that the opposite side of angle S, 2x minus 1, is greater than the opposite side of angle W, which is x plus 4. Okay? Now, finding the possible values of x, we can use transposition method. So, transposing x to the other side of the inequality, we have 2x minus x is greater than copy 4 and transpose negative 1 to the other side. It becomes positive 1. Okay, so we now have this one. 2x minus x is greater than 4 plus 1. Okay, in transposition method, take note that the property behind it is the APE, or the addition property of equality. Now, simplifying, 2x minus x is of course equal to x. And then 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. Therefore, we now have the possible values of x. X should be greater than 5. Okay, to satisfy the hinge theorem and its converse. So what are the possible values of x? Greater than 5 months should be
6, 7,
to positive infinity. So daghan gyud kaayong possible values na x. So that's all about triangle inequality theorem. So I hope nasabtan og saan pag-apply sa theorem 1, theorem 2, 3, the exterior angle inequality theorem and the hinge theorem and its converse in solving a certain problem. So, Mathematics 9 will be discussed after a short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School.
na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time.
And now we're back, still here in Astral Academy Cyber School. Okay, so learners, di na ito kalimtan ang ito ang second attendance marker. So makita karon sa inyong screen.
Alright, so this time, let us now have our grade 10 mathematics, Ma'am Gay. So our competency for this week is to calculate a specified measure of position of a set of data. So that would be our target for this afternoon. By the way, so why are we learning these things? Well, calculating a specified measures of position of a set of data is important because it is just the same as kanabitang mawala ta, Ma'am Gay, when we're lost, di ba, we have a GPS or we also have the Google Map, di ba? So if nana sila, so we can identify asa tadapita and where to go nga direction, okay? So same thing in statistics. So in statistics, it's important to learn the measures of position because it would tell us where the data point is. And by that, if kabalota kung asa ang data, what does this means and unsa ato mabuhat ana nga data. Okay, so that is the importance of calculating the measures of position. So we already discussed this one last episode also, Ma'am Gay, that the measures of position that we have is the quartile, the decile, and the percentile. So for the quartile, from the word itself, quartile, no? So it is, the data is divided into 4. That's right, okay? So for the decile, it is divided into 10. And for the percentile, it is divided into 100. Now, since we're going to calculate, now this time let us have an example. Okay, so let us learn how to calculate a specified measures of position. So in this example, we have here given data, okay, the 3, 13, 11, 11, 5, 4, and 2. So we're going to calculate for the first quartile, the third decile, and the 20th percentile. Okay? So tulo ang atong isolve ani Ma'am Gay. So Ma'am Gay, if we're going to calculate a measures of position, so first thing that we're going to do is arrange the given data in ascending order. Okay? So mo ginaim atong first nga buhatan. Now here is our data. So we have to arrange it into ascending order. So if we're going to arrange it into descending order, so mag-una na si, so when we talk about ascending, that is from smallest to biggest value. Okay, so we have here, so we start with 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 11, and 13. So after we arrange the data into ascending order, then it's time to solve na dayon or calculate a specified measures of position using the Mendenhall and Sinsich method, which we already also discussed this one last episode. And in solving a specified measures of position, we have its formula. Specified formula. For the quartile, we have here the Q sub k is equal to k over 4 multiplied by n plus 1. A k here tell us kung unsang number or quartile, percentile, decile ang imong gusto nga i-solve, and our n here is the total number of elements in the given data. And so with the decile here, we use the formula d sub k is equal to k over 10, since for decile it is divided into 10 equal parts, and then multiplied by n plus 1. And so with the percentile, we have here a formula, p sub k is equal to k over 100 times n plus 1. Okay, so dali ra kaayo no if we are familiar with the different formulas. But the very first thing nga buhaton nimo is ayaw kalimot, arrange the data into ascending order. Now since it's already arranged in ascending order, or from smallest to largest value, now since we're asked to solve for the first quartile, so that means you have to solve for q sub 1. Okay, kay gipangita man nimo ang imuhang first quartile, that is given, or the problem. So therefore, the next step is we have to substitute it with our given formula. So here we have here q sub k, so that means we have here q sub 1. Now substituting k by 1, we now have 1 over 4 times our n here is the number of elements of the given data. So let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, okay, 7 is our n, the value of n. So therefore, we're going to substitute 7 into n. So we have here 7 plus 1. Now simplifying, we have here 7 plus 1 is equal to 8. So therefore, we have here 1/4 times 8. And 1/4 times 8, that is equal to 8 over 4. And simplifying 8 over 4, that is equal to 2. Okay? 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So therefore, quartile 1 is the second, okay, element of the given data. Not the value of quartile 1 is equal to 2. No. The quartile 1 is the second element. So based on our given data, quartile 1 would be equal to the second element man. So we have here first element, second element. So that is equal to 3. So therefore, quartile 1 or first quartile is equal to 3. Okay? So same thing abuhato na to sa ato ang decile. Now, in this problem, if we are asked for the third decile, therefore, we have to substitute k by 3. So we now have here d sub 3 is equal to 3 over 10 multiplied by, and of course, still, we have here 7 elements of data. So we have here 7 plus 1. So simplifying, 7 plus 1 is equal to 8. So therefore, we have here 3 over 10 times 8. And 3 over 10 times 8, that is equal to 24 over 10. And 24 over 10, if we're going to simplify that one, that is equal to 2.4. And if we're going to estimate that 2.4, that would be equal to 2. So pasabot, the third quartile is on second element also. Second element. So, if you're going to count also on balik na punta sa ato ang given nga data. So, let's count on sang second element. The first element is 2, the second element is 3. Therefore, si third decile daw gihapon class is equal to 3. Okay? So, ingon ana lang. After following the formula, you have to locate which element ang na nga problem. Okay, so now, what if we're asked to look for the 20th percentile? So therefore, we have to use this formula, P sub k is equal to k over 100 times n plus 1. And so, since we're looking for the 20th percentile, therefore you have to replace k or substitute k by 20. So this is now equal to P sub 20 is equal to 20 over 100 multiplied by n. Again, there have 8 elements, so we have 8 plus 7 plus 1. And if you're going to simplify, 7 plus 1 is equal to 8. So we now have 20 over 100 multiplied by 8. 20 times 8 is equal to 160. So we now have 160 over 100. And if you're going to simplify 160 by 100, divided by 100, that is equal to 1.6. And if you're going to estimate that one, that would be equal to 2. So therefore, pasabot gihapon ni 20th percentile, it's on the second element. Same on the Japanese lang mga value. So the second element is, right, it is equal to 3. Okay, so therefore, the 20th percentile of the given data is equal to 3. Okay, so that's it. That is how we calculate specified measures of position. Balikan nato. All you have to do is the first thing is we have to arrange it into ascending order. After that, you have to use the specified formula of a specific measures of position. For the quartile, take note, the divisor is equal to 4. For decile, take note, mag-matter lang yun siya sa divisor. Decile is for 10, and percentile is 100. Okay, so that is how we calculate a specified measures of position, quartile, decile, and percentile. Okay, so we do hope that you learn our lessons for this afternoon. So, Ma'am Gay, before ta mag-end,
Of course, we have to thank our production team here. So we have Sir Julio, Sir Saavedra, Sir Abapo, Ma'am Leia, and yes, Ma'am Leia. Okay, so and of course, pasalamatan po nato ang atuang mga learners. Of course.
And of course, Ma'am Gay, before ta mag-goodbye, let's not forget our third attendance marker. It's already on the top of your screen, so learners, take note. Okay, so learners, see you in our next live. This has been Miss Elvin Nueva
and Ma'am Gay Saavedra.
This is Astral Academy Cyber School. Bye!